Squiddy face watching us from afar.
Ooh, Jesus. Oh. Hi.
No, just city.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
We are Bards and Balladeers, and that means nothing to you right now because this is the first episode and you guys don't know what we're doing or who we are. So
Welcome to the club.
we don't know what we're doing either. Small introductions. My name is Mr. Moraine. I'm an author. You can call me Rio. We're all authors, actually. And we'll just kind of go down the line and say hello. Welcome to the party.
Well, hello. I'm Kate. C.E. Linares is my pen name, but I am wife of Mr. Moraine here.
I'm the lucky one.
Yes, indeed. I'm also lucky. But fellow author, musician, general creative lover. I have 2 cats.
They're her cats, not my cats.
Yeah, that's mine, apparently.
I'm not allowed to touch them.
No.
This is a video record for him.
Touch it.
Yeah.
Established. This
It's
is
actually
yours.
yeah,
and only touch them with your eyes.
well, I mean,
But-
that's their rule, not anyone
Right,
else's.
right. It's part of the agreement. But that's me.
My name is Uzgar K. Shaheen. People call me Oz sometimes. Historical pirate novelist, gamer, and nonfiction author. Just here with my friends. This is, something that'll get us all together a little bit more often, and we've got stuff to say and stuff to laugh about. So here we are.
And as our first podcast, we forgot to turn off.
I thought I did, but apparently I turned all sound on.
there you go.
I turned off my
Instead
phone
of-
that you made me
I think
put
so.
under the table. So
I
You
also
better-
thought that
yeah.
I did too. So
This is what the
apologies,
podcast
Oscar.
is. It's going to be just error correcting everything that we're doing because
Oh, I see what I did.
Oh.
I did it wrong.
I turned the sound on.
young people don't know technology.
No, God,
Yeah.
no.
You can tell she's the young, beautiful one, and
Mom.
we're the old ones.
Uh,
What am I doing here?
yeah.
Um,
No, I'm here to have fun.
yeah, absolutely.
And talk, apparently.
Yeah. I like how those are separate things for you.
Because you cannot talk and have fun at the same time.
No, never.
Yeah,
Really. I said I'm a musician.
yeah. I just
the
play
way.
music. I talk through my instrument.
By the way, I have this mug for all of our New York fans that
Yeah.
we might get one day.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, she's gonna be in the house. Oh, she recognized me. But yeah, so we're gonna drink coffee and talk about things. And the general idea of what we wanted to do is that we've done panels and we've done things and we talk to people when we go to conventions and we do all these things and we love that interaction and everything. But going out in the world, as much as we love it, it's very limiting, at times where it's just like you only meet the people you see there. So as the internet is a wonderful, miraculous thing and brings people together, we're hoping that this will be, that little connection piece that we can get to more people and then just talk about general stuff and talk to authors and stuff like that. But the podcast in general is creativity, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, story.
Yeah.
And there's those panels where you've got the one panelist that you wish weren't there. And so what I did was I invited him onto a podcast, and here we are.
Yeah.
No.
The ones that I liked.
Yeah, no, we
No.
just love hanging out. We riff off each other well, and we're like, you know what? Even if nobody watches us, we're going to have fun.
Right.
Mhm.
Gives us a reason to get together, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true.
And so, yeah, that's basic what the podcast is. And because we were taught in grade school to do the who, what, when, where, and why. Why we're doing this again, like you said, we're just trying to find another creative outlet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All of this is just an experimentation, a training in creativity, and even like just talking through things is a wonderful way of or even listening. If you're going to listen to this, just coming up with ideas. Because how many times have you come up with ideas just out and about doing your random life, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why I keep notes on my phone.
Yeah.
Same. I have
Or-
a lot.
Notes on napkins.
napkins.
Yeah.
And even sometimes you just have the best ideas when you're doing nothing. Like you're on a walk outside
Mhm.
and inspiration just strikes when it wants to. But we find that we have a lot of inspiration that actually happens when we're all talking together too.
Yeah.
So it's fun to hopefully see that happen organically.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We don't have any notes. We're doing this all off the top of our heads. That's how
Yeah.
good we are.
And I hate
That's
improv.
what it says here anyway.
In my notes. Talk about having no notes.
So yeah, we covered a little bit about who we are.
Mhm.
Anything you want to add about yourselves? Or should we just skip to like what specifically this podcast is intended to be?
I mean, yeah, I think one of the things that's going to be good about this is just that people will learn just by us saying and doing is who we are and everything.
Right. Yeah.
And if you read any of our books, like as any author would tell you, you'll find a little bit of yourself in those books and everything. So people reading our books hopefully will understand our perspectives and, you know, our wants and dreams and needs and so that. Because who doesn't want to be on a dragon and fighting evil or whatever?
That sounds really unsafe.
No. Well, yeah.
OSHA would hate it.
I'm too old.
Just like the people working on the roof over there with no lines.
I was amazed.
Yeah.
The bravery of dragon riders.
And not roofs.
Whatever.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess in terms of what this podcast is, I think our intention is to make it be about story, not, you know, creativity in general, but story specifically in all its forms. Not just books or comics or whatever. You can find story anywhere. You can find it in music. You can find it in gaming. You can find it in like lawyers who have to spin a narrative depending on what's interesting. Don't worry. We're not going to have too much of that sort of thing, but you find it everywhere. And it's always inspiring and always gives us stuff to talk about. And yeah, so we'll have some interesting guests over the next months and hopefully years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully years, right?
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when will you see it? When we haven't decided when?
I don't know.
You're the editor. Yeah.
I need you to keep me in track because you know I go off the trail.
That is true. He does. He finds his own path.
What?
One reason why he's a good editor too. But as for when we will see it, I honestly don't know why I started talking because I don't know the answer.
I thought it was going to be like weekly, whenever.
Sure.
After you see this, watch weekly.
Watch, subscribe, like and subscribe.
Down below.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Yeah,
He hates that.
But the algorithm, we need the algorithm to pay attention to us.
Yeah, we should start a reaction channel.
I'm gonna do it unironically one day, and I'm just gonna not react. I'm just gonna be like, that's good.
And then when it's like really boring, like really over the top.
Did you see that paperwork he did? Oh my God.
Stapler action there. But yeah, so weekly, YouTube, or go to our website. Which is Bards and Balladeers podcast.com.
Bards and Balladeers podcast.com. Yes.
Severely lacking any deers right now, but we're working on it.
Balladeers is one word. There will be a Facebook page once I create it, which will probably be before you see this.
Yeah.
So we'll post links and all that stuff.
There will be a Facebook page.
The website probably be the best place to gather and see everything because we're going to try to make that a kind of a repository. But you know, wherever you get your information, we're going to try to be everywhere. So where we'll post all our links, what platforms. We might add platforms other than YouTube. We don't know yet. We haven't decided that. YouTube for now. TikTok probably. Everybody's on TikTok.
Assuming it doesn't get sold or it doesn't get canceled here. Right? Yeah. We'll just have to, get a VPN to access it or something.
TikTok and any other version of TikTok in the future.
Yeah, right. Instagram, Threads. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then why? Why are we doing this?
Why does anybody do anything?
Because I kind of like you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And we wanted to talk more about story and also to develop. Some of us wanted to develop talking better.
Oh, sure.
That's me.
Public speaking.
Public speaking, yeah. And just being authors, being creators, and making that space for just generating new ideas and also spending time with each other. I think I said that already.
But like, why do we enjoy each other's company? For me, that's a big part of that is authenticity, which is a word people throw around a lot. And I think most people don't really know what it means. They just think, well, me as I am, that's authentic. Like, you minus your defenses and ways of hiding from yourself and others and all that.
Sure.
Who you are deep down comes out. I think both of you have a large amount of that quality. You both, authentically bad high fivers.
When do I get my certificate of authenticity?
We should make those and be really douchey.
Honestly, hang them up in the back.
Right. Yeah. I got this from Harvard, but Harvard spelled wrong.
It's a backwards, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Umlauts.
that's what happens when Harvard funding is blocked. We won't go there.
No. That's one thing I hope we don't get too much into, like political stuff. Like that's honestly, that's boring to me. Like I want to talk about all the fun things that we think about and do and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to like rigidly avoid it, but I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah.
Because inspiration often comes from things we don't enjoy too.
Yeah.
Or bad things. Why? What's your why?
It is, like I said, an exercise and just being in the world, and interaction. And I think this actually comes a little bit to like when you and I started writing together and everything. It's like, as much as I enjoy the process and everything, doing things together, friendship is a more fun task when you do anything, honestly. Like, because finding those like minds, and it's very hard to find like-minded people sometimes. People that, again, like you can trust, that are authentic, that you see do these things. And I hope that if you ever meet us in the real world, because this is not real, we're all 3D, we're AI generated. That we are relatively the same, because that's the one thing I like, to your point, people who say they're authentic and then they don't do as they say, or they're completely different, or they're hiding a part of like what they are. Like, that's not fun. That's not real. Like, and it's too much energy and exercise to even try to do that. Yeah. So I want to do it because I do want to reach a broader audience. I do want to reach more people. And I want, I want people to read my stories because I find them entertaining, and I want people to also be entertained, and therefore we have a connection. And that's a lot about anything in the world's connection, right? So that's why I want to.
Yeah.
And the ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Just the one.
That's not what plural is, dude. Yeah, it's writing advice, plural. I think also just it's good practice for me, because I eventually will have a similar channel for my nonfiction stuff. Just that'll be just me, because you guys,
these weirdos.
No,
you're
just
too excitable.
For my work on like narcissism and backlash stuff and all that. That's just going to be part of what I do. But
I do hope that we get to a point where we do live streaming, because that's one thing we talk to as well. Because we'd love to have the interaction. Again, we can keep a conversation going,
right? But we like to invite our audience into some of that. Keep that
engaging.
Going.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing this. And again, if we don't get any viewers, we're still having fun. We're just doing it in front of microphones and watching it again later. Yeah,
just for our own stuff. We're very narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yes. For how we're doing this, I mean, I just wanted to do anything. We just made a time and got together and started doing it. So
and I just a little aside about that. I mean, it is difficult to make that kind of time. We're all very busy.
Sure.
We all have day jobs. We're all authors. We all have our hobbies and everything. So squeezing that, and we live like 40 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Squeezing all that in.
Yeah.
But that's how much we like each other.
Yeah, it's true. The heart is there.
The heart is there. And I just hope that, and again, there's always that, like, for transparency's sake, is that there's always that monetary thing that we hope that we can get our time back. Like, we're hoping maybe one day in the future that we won't have to work a 9 to 5, and that we can do this and, be even more creative and bring more stuff to the world, because that everybody can find another 9 to 5 job or like fill that role. Like, but as creatives, we want to be creative, and I don't want to say 9 to 5 jobs are stifling, but we could always do more with our time.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need to reach everybody one person at a time all the time, like at events. This is a nice way to get in front of a lot of people. People don't know who we are. They don't know what our writing is until they start reading it. It's just a way for everyone to get to know us to get to know everyone, us to get to know each other, and just explore some topics that when we don't want to wait for a convention to explore the topic, and just, explore it with randos instead of each other.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of our favorite parts about going to conventions too, is that we get to have these honest, real, organic conversations with just everyday people. And sure, they might be customers because we're technically trying to sell something to them. But I know for Rio here, in like whenever we go home from an event, we try to pick out like a top 3 moment, like or top 3 moments, and what's your favorite moments throughout the day. And often they're from conversations that we have just with these people that some of them might not even have bought a book, but we just had such a great time with them that we remember them. And so having an opportunity potentially to engage with more varied people throughout the year, like Oscar just said, would be just delightful as creators, because even if some of us are, a range of introvertedness, we also do love people.
Yeah. I've always loved people, even when, that's part of why I don't like people sometimes, is because I want to like them and they get in my way of that. That's really like not even joking. That's true.
Right.
But yeah, like almost nobody looks back at a convention. It's like, my favorite moment when that one person bought like 2 or 3 of my books, that was amazing. Like, no, it's the moments, those conversations, the authentic interactions. And that's the sort of thing that we really enjoy.
Yeah.
We've done panels a little bit now, and we had so much fun. I think there's video of a couple of them. We might put links on that. Just to link
there
you
are
to that.
beginnings.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what we're doing here, who we are.
And of course, when this does go live, please, like, talk to us, make comments. We'll respond to them. Like, we want to interact with y'all. So,
I will read them. I do read YouTube comments, even when I have nothing to gain.
Yeah. Just fun. It's fun to see what people are thinking,
Yeah.
But as we move forward, we kind of want to segment some of this stuff into different kind of sections and everything. So we'll have a lot of like, you'll see the same thing sometimes, or just kind of some of the same formats, but trying to switch it up, because one week we'll talk about something and then maybe we'll just try a different thing where we'll be maybe making stories on the fly or doing whatever you have. But one of the things that Oscar came up with, the genius that he is that out in the world ideas and everything. And tell me if I got this wrong, because I've been mulling over this for the last few weeks while we try to figure out. And it's just things that we see that interest us in the world as we just live our lives. And one of the things, if you don't mind me taking the first go at this, and
we didn't really talk about that
beforehand,
did we?
No, it's okay. We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
But one of the things, we were driving the other day, and it's the season in spring, and Minnesota spring doesn't start until like June. But
it's true.
You start, the weather's getting warmer, and you start to see people having bonfires. And it's such a wonderful thing, because one, that smells nostalgic. If you ever gone camping, or you just have, a fire pit in the back of your house. And you got to think, as relating to stories and, passing down knowledge and everything, that was one of the biggest places that stories got told, was in around fires, not in fires, hopefully not in fires. Cause that's
its own story.
Yeah. That's the Spanish Inquisition or burning witches. Yeah. But like, I love that idea that even now, like, it's just such a human instinctual thing. I think that even now it's a place of warmth. It's a place of friendship. It's a place where you get around and share a meal. And now we're still doing that. And you'll still, for whatever reason, we're still doing that. And we're still telling stories about what you did the week, what you did last summer, blah, 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 and it's cool to see that still. And I love that.
Spooky stories too.
Stories
that you shouldn't be hearing, that somebody's, telling, and sometimes probably learning a lesson.
You know how much I pay for taxes?
That's not as much a fireside story, but yeah.
I always wanted to do because actually maybe we can do that sometime. We'll write some stories and we'll do campfires and we'll record in front of it or something. But I've always wanted to, they have like powder you can throw into the fire and it changes colors. So you can just
blue powder.
It's
Harry Potter.
Oh, well, that's something you're going to learn. I didn't think we were going to get that.
I'm pretty sure it's blue powder.
Yeah, it's blue powder.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I won't leave you hanging on that.
Thank you.
Do you want to see how many people I can get to subscribe and then unsubscribe really quick? I don't like Harry Potter very much.
There's a large part of the world right now that also doesn't like Harry Potter anymore.
Well,
they don't like the author.
Yeah.
We won't go there either.
Nope. But
no. But
flu powder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But stories. I mean,
I think it's fun too. Like you talk about telling stories around the campfire, around dinner, like meeting places. And one thing that occurs to me when you bring that up is, and we all know this, we've all done this, no shade, but those stories that get told and retold and retold where like, well, I told this person and now this person's joined. So I retell the story. And now that person's joined, I retell the story. Sure. And, you know, like I think, and every person in a long-term relationship or a marriage knows like, oh, he's telling this story. Yep. Oh, she's telling that story again. And I've heard this, I'm going to tune out. Sure. I mean, yeah, we all experience that, but that's also, it's sort of a thing we all roll our eyes at, but there's also something kind of enjoyably predictable about it. Sure. Where it's like, it's almost like a comfortable blanket. It's like, okay, I know who this person is. They're just doing this. They're showing who they are to this new person, whatever. Right. And you get to tune out if you want to. Right.
There's also I think like you said, it's like a warm blanket. It's like familiarity is comforting, which I did read an article the other day that, don't source me, that said that you rewatching movies and reading stories is very comforting in and of itself. And that's why people will often do it. So
especially little kids.
Yeah. Or 31-year-olds rewatching The Raid Redemption multiple times.
Yeah, you know, she's sad today. It's like, let's just put on The Raid and watch people beat the crap out of each other real quick.
I used to watch the animated Lord of the Rings like monthly.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not that one. I would watch the other one.
Yeah.
The real one.
There's like, you know, a little disagreement.
Yeah. And then he just doesn't like it at all. So
yeah, again,
he likes The Hobbit. Movies.
Yeah, I know. Like I am the antithesis to all the people who actually like.
So to our family and the one other person who's still left,
we apologize for him. I apologize for me. No, and go ahead.
But I think that's one reason why the three of us, like going back to the how did anyone let us do this, is because we have such three varied perspectives on a lot of different things, but we all function pretty similarly. Like we have the same drives and goals for the most part, even if they are slightly different between the three of us. I segued back. I think that's
when
it's a Jeremy Bearimy.
Jeremy, I
don't get that reference.
It's The Good Place.
Good Place.
Oh, okay. It's on my list to see.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Let's do a reaction video.
I got you saying it now. I think I won that fight.
Yeah, definitely. It's just stuck in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when we all approach things authentically, that creates a sense of commonality because the part of you that builds connections rather than tearing them down is that authentic self, that part of you. This is how I define common sense for one of the books I've been working on, is the sense for that which things have in common. And it's sort of an intuitive sense. And if you're all working from that, you're all going to find commonalities. And I feel like that's just part of why we get along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
We're all humans.
Even if you hate the wrong things and, whatever.
Fine.
I accept it. I accept that I don't enjoy some of the things that people like, the popular ones. But here's a thing that I don't know why we're talking about this now, but like,
because you're talking about it.
I'm talking about
right now.
He loves being
I don't like when people can only hold like one thought at a time. And it's just like one of those things like, I understand that Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter is this big phenomenal thing that changed like a lot of things about movies, and that, fantasy can come and people can love it. And, a lot of people stayed away from it. It was all cop dramas and stuff like that. It's all but I understand that, like, I don't like it, but I understand how important like those movies are and how much they did for cinema and motion graphics and special effects. And it's the same thing. Like, and again, here, a lot of people get mad at me for this one. Final Fantasy VII was a huge step in video gaming. Like huge for full motion graphics and videos and 3D graphics. But I still think it's one of the worst Final Fantasies because the story is not as good as some of the other ones, like 6 or whatever. But I respect it for the fact that it did so much for video games. Like, so 2 thoughts at one time, like that's, it's possible.
That's true.
Yeah, it's funny. People cite that sort of thing a lot when I say, didn't like the live action Lord of the Rings movies. They're like, oh, but you have to respect what it did for film. And I'm like, why don't you just let me hate it instead of, telling me what I have to like about it.
Right.
So that, we can get out of disagreeing. Like, no, it's fine. We can just disagree.
Right.
And, lots of things could have been done well and done a lot for film. But yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's fair. That is fair.
Pissing so many people off.
Yeah, right.
Minority opinion. You heard it here.
That's
Minority. You're a Caucasian. You can't be a minority opinion.
I'm half Middle Eastern, dude.
Oh, okay.
Test my DNA.
And believe it or not, we're actually Latino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And white.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
yeah.
rough for people like me. Feel bad for me.
You can tell I'm Latino because of my skin color. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not what we seem to be, which is three white
Chameleons.
suburban.
Yeah.
But we are authentic.
It's because my accent's so thick, man. Yeah, people are gonna hate me for that one. But so let me tell you something about.
I hate you for that.
Yeah, I hate myself for a lot.
I
of
just
things.
hate.
Yeah, I'm just a Sith. I just let the hate flow.
That's why we put you in the middle. It's going to just flow out.
It flows out.
Just feed off of it like
Yeah.
through a straw and just.
Oh, it's like that one. Oh, what's those videos? You know what? I don't know what it's called. I'm going to explain it horribly. Edit this out.
Should
I didn't ask that.
Should we a move on to story as a thing?
Yeah.
I think so.
Because
So we want that.
we're having fun, but
Yeah.
you guys need something to look at.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's true.
So so we're just gonna kind of talk about how genres in stories, or like you said before, like where we find all these different stories and how they vary so much between
Mhm.
all the genres and everything. So
When
What if-
even just the structure of story in
Sure,
general,
yeah.
like what is it? Plot, world building, and character. The
Mhm.
three.
Sure.
I maintain those are the three main pillars of story. Whether it's in books or movies or songs, even
Mhm.
visual arts, dance a lot of the time.
sure, yeah,
Oh.
and even through the different genres of dancing, like
Right. Yeah.
there's different methods and
Oh, wow.
and like almost like the silhouettes of like dancing sometimes. Like
Mhm.
I remember like watching breakdancing videos a lot when I was like in my 20s because I was going to be a
not the
breakdancer.
Olympics.
No.
Oh. Leave her
Sydney
alone.
should have won. But you see like it's weird because if you really watch them, you'll see moves that are very like technically difficult to do, but aren't as flashy. And then the flashy ones that might be simple just are just more appealing almost sometimes aesthetically. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's like there's that interpretation of art. There's that like silhouette of art, like, even like in movies where you can have Dune is a good example. The new Dune is that every shot in that movie is this perfect like setup picture. Like you can stop that movie like almost anywhere and you will see something beautiful,
Mhm.
which is kind of cool. Like,
That's true.
Well,
dance is kind of like that.
I'd said too that a big part of how movies work, which we do this as authors as well, is the author or the editor, the cameraman, like all the direction that goes in includes selecting what to zoom in on, what to frame in, what to frame out, when to cut scene, go to a different scene, what perspectives to inhabit. That's all something that we manage as authors. Directors do that. And I think that that's a big part of, that's why if I had a kid, I wouldn't raise them just on TV because it's a useful skill to learn how to do in the real world.
Sure.
And if you just watch too much TV, it's all kind of done for you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which reading is totally different.
Yeah. Go read books.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
But yeah, that's a big part of how to tell a story is like, that's just the approach to telling it is, I guess, maybe almost like a fourth leg.
Sure.
But we hadn't really talked about that. Just
Guiding
thought
the
about it,
focus or,
yeah.
yeah.
I think something too about your comparison between TV and movies is that when you can do a movie like well and it all works out and you get the rise and fall of action and all that stuff, it's like perfection. Like where with the TV series, it's very hard to maintain that momentum when you're just trying to fill like episodes.
Yeah.
Almost. I think actually Star Trek Next Gen did a pretty good job. But not at the beginning. Like they had to find their feet. But I love the idea that movies is this format where that story is so well contained and so well told that it's very different feeling. And that's why people go to movies, I feel like. And why you say why you watch a show because it's comforting, but movies is like an experience. It's always been like, you go to movie theater to watch this and stuff like that. So I find that comparison really interesting. But back to your sorry.
Oh, just to say, like you knew Star Trek Next Gen, like everything was equal in the future because no one had pockets.
No one had, and they only had one toilet, but we'll talk about that in a future episode.
It's connected to the replicator.
Oh, gee, that's what they should have done. They just teleported out you and you just see in space just stuff floating off. And like,
Oh God.
they only do it during warp speed. So like it just, that's what the lines are. Just like,
What's the Seth MacFarlane show?
Orville.
The Orville?
Yeah, they should have done that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's Seth MacFarlane.
That would have been up his alley. Yeah.
Yeah, up something.
Which is so funny because the Orville started out as, you can tell that Seth MacFarlane's humor was, it was drenched in it. And it was funny. It was fantastic. But even as they started growing from it, it started getting more serious, but also funny, but better somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know, side tangent.
But
I still haven't watched it, so I definitely need to.
yeah.
Mhm.
I've heard mixed things, mostly good.
Who doesn't like it? Who are you talking to that doesn't like Orville?
They shall remain nameless for the sake.
No,
of,
we need names.
Anonymity.
No,
I don't remember.
no,
I
Made them up.
I consolidate all the opinions into one amorphous mass of opinions.
You
And I
average
say
it out.
people are saying, which makes me sound like an idiot.
It's like one of those like clickbait,
yeah.
headers.
People hate Orville. Find out why.
Mhm.
Mhm.
People's just Twitter or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, X.
Yeah.
It's always going to be Twitter.
Formerly
I'm
known as
sorry.
Twitter.
Okay. No political talk.
Mhm.
Stop. I'm just kidding. But one of the things is that I think we talked about too is like authors is that when you have those three different things of like plot, character, and world building, you're usually only good at like two. Or
Mhm.
like, and you just,
Mhm.
or like you just like two more than the other. Or
Yeah, you need to be competent at all of them, but we all have our favorites.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true.
And I think we went around and we talked about like what we liked, and we were all the opposite of each other. Like I forgot what it was.
You're world building.
Yeah, I'm world building.
Your
yeah.
character, right?
Mhm.
And I'm plot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So between
Together,
us, we
Captain
form
Planet.
Voltron.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay. Voltron.
Sorry, Gen Xer. Okay.
Oh,
See, here's the age difference. Captain
No, because I'm
Planet.
always,
I was just
fuck
happy
is
to be here.
I'm always
Sorry,
the left
F.
leg, and no one wants to be the left leg.
Can
the
I be
weakest
the
of the
right leg next week, guys?
They just flip it, and then
Yeah.
like it's all like lopsided.
Why is your foot backwards?
The toes on the wrong side? It's
Damn
just
it.
like
We didn't think this through.
yeah. the arms on the head and the head's on the side.
Did you say Captain Planet?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of.
What other
I
or
know.
Power Rangers? I mean that.
Yeah.
Oh,
would be,
Before that, he was
Sure.
Lieutenant Planet.
Gotta
What did he
work his
rank
way
up?
up in
What
the
did he?
ranks, yeah.
Did he start the recycling program and they gave him promotion?
Yeah, Lieutenant JG Planet.
Yes, I
Sorry.
love character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I think I just like seeing people in real life develop and grow and become something good or bad, doesn't matter. I just like seeing this string of events that brings somebody to become something else. And that
Mhm.
fascinates me as a person.
For sure.
But I also, as much as I love world building, I'm not great at it in writing. I think because in my head, I visualize so many things. We've talked about this quite a bit.
Mm.
Why it's not my specialty, which I don't mind. It gives me something to work on. Plot is like in the middle for me. I won't lie. It's so necessary and crucial, but I think I
Right.
end up overthinking it. So it's not my least favorite.
It's how the
But-
characters develop.
Exactly.
So it's your
exactly.
second favorite.
Right. It ties in. All three of them do. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's
For
why.
me, character is like how the reader approaches the plot.
Yeah.
It's
you know.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But to that point too, is that like characters, like how many times have you like followed a show or a book just for the characters?
Mhm.
Like I,
Mhm.
Almost
ways in the
never,
rig.
actually.
Oh,
Because
really?
character is my last category.
oh,
Mm.
So if I don't like the world and I don't like the plot, then character's not enough to see me through usually.
That's
Interesting.
fair.
But also character can detonate a show for me. Like I won't watch Breaking Bad. I watched the first 3 episodes and I'm like, I don't have like no sympathetic characters in here. I don't care what happens to any of them.
Mm.
And so I need the character thing to be there for me
Yeah.
to get into the show.
fair.
So,
It's you want to have the Iron Man Captain America debate.
I know this is pretty great.
well, I got some popcorn.
No, because
Yes.
he
When we met.
loves
Yeah.
Breaking Bad. Is that what you meant?
No.
Oh, legitimately the Iron Man Captain America.
I mean, no, I do like Breaking Bad, but I know.
I'm just kidding.
Scoff.
Again,
Poll.
minority opinion.
Of the two of us, who do you think loves Captain America more or Iron Man?
The two
Go.
of them.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Imagine me with a mustache, a little goatee. Who do I look like? I'll show you a picture of me with the bad goatee trying to be Iron Man one year.
You kind of have goatee.
Well, like it was the and the little pointies,
Like a Fu Manchu kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll show it. I'll flash on the screen. I'll
Yeah,
edit it.
like look like bearded Spock or something.
But it is funny that you still want some character element in it for it to be enjoyable or believable.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I enjoy all three of those elements, but have my favorites.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have a little bit of a background with consciousness development and psychology stuff, and of course, I like character development. Just, you know, I like people, therefore, I like characters. But I think that part of my emphasis there, I have a big background in gaming, so world building and plot are the things I've had to grapple with the most as someone who runs games, and other people take care of some of the character work for me.
Yeah.
And it might just be, it's not just, you know, like it's one of my weaker things. It's the thing I work on. And, you know, I've had a lot of compliments on that. So I guess I did an okay job, but it's not, I think that most people are character people that I've met anyway. And I sort of feel sometimes like with a lot of people, it can be to the exclusion of, like, at the expense of the plot and the world building. And so maybe it's more that I champion those things. I focus more on those things. I've had to develop those things more in my own history. And so I just got, you know, kind of more used to them, more better at them. They're more comfortable. But I don't know. It's not, I dislike character at all.
They also make,
No.
They, going back to something else somebody said, but it makes an immersive experience. I feel like when the world building and plot are finely tuned together, that it really does make it more of like an escapism type thing. Because if you're just there for the character, it's almost like you're just trying to have some kind of interaction with that character. Whereas if the world building and plot is like pretty tight and good, it's just a better overall experience. And even with like music and stuff too, tone.
Yeah. Well, and you can relate to the character better if those other elements are not pulling you out of it.
Yes, yeah.
Like there's a great line, there's a show based on Marjorie Allingham novels, a show called Campion from the 80s, like a Peter Davison. Doctor Who fans, check it out. It's pretty good. But old Doctor Who fans, I should say. But yeah, there was a line from it. Someone said about his servant. Like they said, a good servant is like this thing happened. Like magical pair of hands made this thing happen. But your servant, you notice him all the time, you know, and it's sort of like the plot and the world building. I'm not saying you shouldn't notice it, but like in those moments when you just want to focus on the character, they shouldn't pull you out of it. It's the same kind of principle.
Sure. And I almost wonder too about like how when one leads to the other, and like Firefly is the example that I'm thinking about right now, is because, and the reason why I say how characters can like be so important that will allow me to just enjoy whatever they're doing. Like there are so many moments in Firefly that where they're just sitting around the table and they're talking, and they're pushing the plot forward with whatever they're talking about usually. But there's also times when they're not. Like they're celebrating someone's birthday, you know, at one point and everything. And it's just like, it feels, without like a lack of a better word, like home, because it's just like these people feel very real and very like, and then like they could, I would hate it if the plot, like they went back in time or something like that, but they could, and I'd still watch what they do. And I guess, and honestly, Star Trek was one of those big pioneers of it, even the original Star Trek, where they would do all these crazy things, but we wanted to see how they would get out of it. It's almost like fan fiction in almost to extent. But if you, maybe that's why a lot of fan fiction people come about, is because they love these characters so much. One, sometimes they feel like they need to correct things, but they also want to see them in other things, doing other things, you know,
or experience them in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also one thing with Firefly, I'll say the obligatory things. It should never have been canceled, and Joss Whedon should have, or whatever. But yeah, there's so much of it that's unfinished that a lot of fanfic I think exists just to fill in gaps. Like the world building's really sparse. in that show
Yeah.
because they didn't really get to it. It was a lot. It was
Right.
heavily character focused.
Right.
Yeah.
Plot was more like a vehicle for that. And the world building was even like a vehicle for that. It was
Mhm.
like,
Sure.
it seemed like it was very clearly ranked in that order. And so I'm sitting here like, give me more detail about this world. Like the
Sure.
movie
Yeah.
sort of took care of some of that, but
Well, yeah, they had to because they knew that was all they're going to
Right.
get. Yeah.
I could see that being a reason for people to write the fanfic is like, well, I just want more of the
Right.
things I didn't get enough of.
Yeah.
And yeah, people always want more character, but also, and that's, I think, what generates a lot of fanfic. Most of it probably is the
Sure.
character interactions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yes.
imagine there's a lot of the other kind there too, just because of the incompleteness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess in that respect too, when people do start doing fanfic and then let that fuel their stories, or like they'll do like even to my story a little bit. Like if you ever read Never Told and everything available now is it's heavily influenced by all the anime and all the video games I played, specifically like Final Fantasy. Like I love those kind of worlds, but I wanted to do my own thing. Not as in a case of like I can do better, but no, I just wanted to see what I could do, like, you know, and see how far I can spark my creativity and push it and everything. But you know, will it work? Is it going to be good? That's all, I guess, subjective at times, but you know, it's just one of those things that pushed me to do stuff. And I hope that once I get through all this stuff that I'll be able to do more original stuff that I've been thinking about and some sci-fi stuff. Cause that's always been the, my happy place is sci-fi. Like there's not enough good sci-fi.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Hey, we agree on stuff.
Yeah.
High five. Let's mess it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We can't agree on how to celebrate what we agree on. So
It's so rare.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
There's times we're gonna get to that jumping high five.
Yeah.
We're gonna do freeze frame.
we got to leave that in. That was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like there's not enough good sci-fi out there. And I was thinking like one of the main things I enjoy in all my writing, because like people always ask me, I went to school for astrophysics, dropped out, started studying consciousness development stuff, and I'm working on nonfiction for that. And I write pirate novels. And like, well, how do you go from one to the other to the other? And I always say it's all about discovery for me. It's discovery and finding the limits, pushing new boundaries. Not like violating boundaries, just like, you know, exploring new ground. I'm an explorer at heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just, you know, what are the upper reaches of human development? What are the outer reaches of space exploration? What's the frontier? You get, I mean, pirate stories that take place in the frontier.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's all about that sort of freedom to explore new ground. And that's part of what I like about the world building piece of it is like, it sort of sets up what your expectations can be, what your limitations might be, but also what your possibilities could be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's that whole, like, what's your sandbox? What's your playground? Here
Right.
it is. Here's how it works. And it's, you know, goes back to that gaming element too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games I bought for the world, it's not for characters. You're supposed to make those, you know, it's not for plot, although it had plot lines in its backs in the, like the world history and everything. But just, I want to know what possibilities, limits, and expectations are kind of packaged in this world that I can explore, like what plots I can create, what characters I can envision doing all of that. So that's, for me, sci-fi is a great playground for that sort of thing. I mean, you can do that in any story. You have to do that in any story.
Right.
But that's sort of my focus there.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, do you think like too that like how does one like facilitate the other sometime? Or like, you know, because can you build a great world around characters, or can you make the world first and build better characters, or can you just think of a cool plot and then, because if you think of plot, you could basically like do any, because I joke about this all the time. Like, what if we did this kind of story, but in space? Like, you know, and
So it's for the Honor Harrington fans out there.
Yeah. But I mean, what do you think? Like, what would better facilitate the creation of one or the other, or vice versa?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Sure, why
Oh,
not?
golly.
On the spot.
Yeah. Well, I do think that I kind of see, ever since Oscar brought it up to me first, was I see that all in like a triangle, like world building, character plot. And as the triangle grows, I don't know, they all have to sort of grow and develop with it at the same time. So I think they're all intertwined to a degree. But I think I'm kind of missing the question too.
How can one create the other, or if there's a better way of going. Like, so if you have a character, like, can you make a world off of just a character, or can you make just the world and then make a good plot in there? You know, it's like, how does one
inspire the other?
Right.
Maybe?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
It is.
That is a very big question because
I have an example if that, help.
Go for it.
Something.
I'm bothered that you asked me.
I have this history as a gamer. Probably gamers can relate to this somewhat of, I would end up with friends who were like, I'm going to run this game, create a character for it. And I'd create a character for it, and then they'd never run the game. And I'd be like, I put a lot of thought into this character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a Vampire the Masquerade character, and vampire, you're playing vampires, and vampires all have this inherent sort of like beasts. They're all kind of by nature evil, but trying to hang on to their humanity in that world. And I thought it would be fun to play a character who was a priest and who was so pious and kind of in your face about it that some vampire decided to bring him up, to convert him to a vampire just as an epic troll. Like, okay, now good luck going into a church, as a vampire. Like, you love it so much and now you can't. And so he just built up the fortitude stat or whatever, like the ability to withstand the things that are harmful to vampires so that he could continue
to run his life. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But not like just that, but just like he's always struggling with that dichotomy of being evil, but trying to hold on to his humanity, which is a very kind of Christian thing, in a lot of ways anyway.
Fighting sin, all that stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, so in that sense, like the setting and, the setup for the game inspired the character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, which of those three pillars for you maybe inspires one of the others in that sense? I think that's what you're asking, right?
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Here's another question, like maybe that.
Too many questions.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
This is the Ask Kate a Question segment.
Like, tell us what you think.
I think a lot of
things. Do you like when you are confined or like restricted to a world and everything, just so that, because a lot of times I feel like I don't like it when people will change the world just to fit what they want. I like it when you have a world set and those are the rules, and then you see what you can do in that world. Kind of thing, because maybe you did this and you created your world first, or at least you had an idea of it, and then you kind of stuck to it, or were you changing your world a lot when you were?
I did start with character first because I had two characters actually that I could tell that they were going through things, but I didn't know exactly what they were at first, and so then I think world building came next because in order for them to go through said things, I guess plot also, the world needed to be a certain way. But then I dove heavily into the world and started creating, like, what does it look like? How are the societies built up? If they are going through said things, then society needs to be a certain way. And I also had things that I didn't want to be shown in this story because I very much, when it comes to like sci-fi, I like almost like the hopeful sci-fi. It's not solar punk. I don't know what it is.
You said hopeful punk the other day.
Yeah, hopeful punk.
I like hopeful punk.
Hope punk.
Hope punk.
Because I just don't
get that tattooed.
I don't like. Dystopian. I've tried diving into that, but I don't want to veer too much from the question.
No.
But I still don't know.
That's
like
okay.
I think because I
think that as a character focused person, I could see it being that reverse order like that.
Mm-hmm.
I do it all the time where I like creating stuff for limitations.
Yeah,
I even teach that when I do those young writers conferences.
Yeah.
One of the things I would do is like, okay, first of all, you're not creating main characters, you're creating secondary characters. So you're limited there. Everyone's like, I want to be the captain.
Like, no.
Yeah, I want to have the least limits.
You're going to be the poop deck.
You have limits.
Yes.
And then there's the, like you determine like a personal quality they have, but then you've got to use I use apples to apples cards and use this red card to determine how or how you met one of the main characters and got recruited. And they're like, well, what if I want to be this way or that way? I'm like, fine, but you have to use one of your cards.
Sure.
You have to make it make sense. The cards represent limitations because when you're creating secondary characters, they have limitations.
Right.
They're not the main characters. I mean, even the main characters have limitations, but part of it is to teach these kids who kind of want everything, want to have total control and freedom, that it's not necessarily unfree or that robbing you of control to have limits.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's a kind of a subtle way of maybe reducing childhood narcissism too.
Yeah, well,
Always
you-
working an angle.
you're doing God's work.
You think of more things too when you're bound. I think you both have said that already, but like things that you're not expecting to think of too. And that's always, I find a very happy thing when you think a character is going to be a certain way and then I don't know, the world building or plot determines that something happens to them. Like, ooh, now I get to think of a different way of how they would respond. Or
Oh, I love that.
right.
Yeah.
Or like you think that somebody would respond this way, but your character specifically wouldn't. And that's one part that I enjoy the most. Still,
Yeah.
I'm way off from the question.
No,
but
I feel like that makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
plot informs your character and how they
Yeah.
develop. Like
Yeah.
that is the question.
Mhm.
Like I've had characters go in just the stories that I have published right now.
Mhm.
I've had characters go from being someone that gets mentioned to being a main character
Mhm.
because of that. Because hey, the plot actually worked its way that direction to where this makes a lot of sense. It makes for a better story.
Mhm.
It's just more cohesive. It just, you get that feeling like it's like a whole feeling of like, this is the right direction to go.
For sure.
Right.
And like the character then changes this way, or not changes, but like the development happens in that
Right.
direction.
Adapts
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
doesn't adapt. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even for my story too, I wrote it about the male character, the single male character, and about his upbringing and what he went through. And as I wrote the book and I finished the first book, I'm like, crap, this story really is about the mother,
Mhm.
and it changed my whole perspective about what I was writing or about what story I was even trying to tell.
Mhm.
So I went back and wrote her story, and now it's all continuing from there. And don't get me wrong, it's all of this is that exercise and just trying to get better at your craft, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's just you never know where your characters are going to go. And but even when you start when you write more and more books, your world expands a little bit depending on what you do with it. And then it's almost hard because as I expanded like the magic system and all the stuff, like you don't want to do too much changing that, like, oh, why didn't they do it in the first book, or why didn't they have that in the first book or whatever?
Right. It's
So
retcon.
yeah,
It's
right.
like,
Yeah.
And I hate
where
that.
did this come from?
Space. Yeah. That's always gonna be my answer for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Came from space. All the
And we all do it in subtle ways where we think we can get away with it.
Sure.
I think,
Mhm.
but you don't want it to be obvious.
yeah.
Right.
But even even
No.
like when we wrote together the first time, we wrote Valkas of the Greater Wild. Like I said, hey, these are kind of the plot points I want to be like, just make one main character and have fun. And
Yeah.
and then the things that you did just added and like made everything bigger and better. Like,
Right.
and you did things like, oh man, she's way better than I am at this.
It's funny you say that because I think that actually brings up a good point. I think you said my plot determines character. I
Your
think-
plot informed like how your character developed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think your world building also helped determine, it gave me a box that I had to create those characters
Yeah.
in. And man, there were some 3 characters that I just grew to love because you see them go into dire straits and you create emotional bonds with them as a writer, but hopefully as a viewer too, or reader. And I think that's one reason why I enjoyed those characters so much.
Sure.
Was because of the world building and how I just imagine, like, how did they get there? Like, why are they there? Are they
Yeah.
choosing to be there, or are they stuck? Are they eking out a living? Or like, there's so many questions that it could be ADHD brain. It could just be the writer's mind. It could
Sure.
be a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
I just like people apparently.
I think, well, that's just the thing.
God.
I think limits help you. They kind of force you to go inward. When you're
Yeah.
limited out
Mm.
here, your only direction for growth and depth is inward.
Ooh.
And so, like, I find this anytime I'm doing an RPG, if I'm playing a character, I see other people creating characters, and of course, they want to be like, have the most options and the most power. And I'm
Sure.
like, I will create, like, if it's fantasy, I'll create a non-magical character
Ooh.
Sure.
Mhm.
and give it a lot of depth, just to sort of prove to myself. And it's a fun exercise for me, but also kind of proving to other people
Yeah.
you can make someone with less power in the classical sense and have it be a better character, more fun.
Yeah.
Your fun is not determined by how powerful your character is.
Right.
And people don't always get that because I'm self-imposing this outer limit and forcing the growth inward. And people are like, I love this character. You know?
I do have a character that almost exactly like what you said, that in this world with a certain magic system, this one character is not interested in that magic system at all. And I think that made the arc, it had to be different. It had to be more, like you said, internal.
Yeah. How do I keep this character interesting without all of these without using these tools?
Yes. Yep.
And I find that, I don't know if you guys have read the Wheel of Time series.
I've heard it's
the 14 book monstrosity. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy it, but Robert Jordan definitely had his flaws. And one of them I felt was he didn't understand female characterization. And one of the ways that he would try to make their characters grow without understanding them, it's like they were kind of two-dimensional. So his way of making them grow was to give them more and more powers. And to me, that was an epic fail. Yeah. To me, that was just an epic fail. I felt like Brandon Sanderson fixed a lot when he came in.
I heard he did a good job. It's one of those series that is kind of like one of those token series that you should read in a way, but that's an interesting.
If you got the time.
Yeah.
An old friend of mine called it the waste of time.
Oh no.
It's like, it was funny, but I'm still I'm still happy to waste my time,
Well, there's a lot of people that love it too. And but what an interesting thought, to give them more power, to give them more depth.
And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Conflicted with these powers? Like, is there no emotional tie to that?
Do they just get the power?
And you would think so. And there's a little, but it's like they're very two-dimensional for quite a while. And I think they become more three-dimensional thanks to Brandon Sanderson. But
because he realized females were people too.
Well, let's not go crazy.
Wow. Canceled on the first one.
This is our sense of humor, guys.
Get ready.
But
I laughed at it.
But
it's okay. You're a token female, so if she laughs, it's okay. Yeah,
she laughs because she was expected to by men. But
please help me, I'm in danger.
But no, I think that's part of why I did the historical fiction as well. Is like, just like you can have an interesting character without magic or space or all this stuff, you can have an interesting story without all that. They say truth is stranger than fiction. And, I'm writing fiction, of course, but like you look into the history and there's so much there that you'd be like, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that's how it was. You don't have to look out here to find that magic. If you just delve deeper, you're going to find it. And so, and I'm not saying, I love sci-fi. I love fantasy. I love all that epic stuff. But I don't like the perception that that's where you have to go to find that.
Like there's got to be end of world always, or like no one's going to watch it or learn about it.
Don't get me going on end of world, the scope kind of stuff.
That's another
for another episode.
I've got that in my notes later.
That even brings up like different formats and things like that, like even songs or dance, like you guys were saying earlier. So just even outside of genre. But getting stories out of songs, some people like that more. It's a different type of experiencing a story. Because obviously, like you have a symphony playing a song, not everybody knows like the story that maybe the composer intended to be experienced with that song. But if somebody knew today, I explained that badly, but if somebody was listening to it now, might even have their own complete interpretation of it or understanding of it, or might bring their own narrative to it too.
Like with the symphony named Back That Ass Up, I think. Sorry. You're talking about symphonies. I'm just like, classical fan over here.
That's classic. Well, that could be considered classic music now.
There's world building, plot, character. And you know what? There is.
It's all there.
But whether it's Symphony Number 5 or
Mambo Number 5.
Like Push It.
It's true. All of it.
I like especially like music soundtracks, because that thematic like things where you'll hear that like that tune and everything, and you know what's happening or what's gonna what's the old like Peter and the Wolf was one of the bigger ones that we learned back in in elementary, where it was like, oh, this is the wolf's theme. This is Peter's theme. This is the rabbit's theme or whatever.
All on different instruments too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Oboe.
Yeah, we got a whole episode on this coming.
And, oh shoot, I was going to say something.
I'm sorry.
No. That's old man brain. He just doesn't work so good anymore. It'll come back around. I'm just going to interrupt
themes,
you.
Different
Your name
things.
is Mario.
Where am I? I don't have a recollection of this place.
You know exactly who is going to be like on screen or
yeah, and just like
the themes.
And just how that's used in like a lot of movies too, and how well that just plays to that's what I was gonna say. So when I was in school, we were doing storyboarding for video and everything, and we started with music, and they would just play some random song, whatever. And I was like, what do you think about when you hear this music? And I remember there was this one piece, and it was very like flighty and like lighthearted, and like 3 out of the 20 people that were in the class all did like a bird on a wire, like for whatever reason. Like there's like, you see a lot of imagery in music, and I don't know if that's influenced by just how music like similar to it has been used in other things, or if that's just what it represents or it feels like, like certain strings will give a certain kind of romanticism to things sometimes. And brass is very like, like you think of all
powerful.
Like in a lot of like parade music or like
it's a fanfare.
Yeah, right. A fanfare.
Military.
Military. Yep.
That's common.
Yeah. So it's just kind of cool how that works with the different types of music and how it tells a story by itself, even without like lyrics. That to me is incredible, and I've always loved that.
Yeah, I think we've talked many times about the Fifth Element and how that's a movie to reference for kind of every topic. And again, one thing that's been said about that movie is that the score doesn't match the action, but it's a lot of the time in a way that people love, because it frustrates expectations, and then it kind of makes you. It's almost like it makes you pay more attention.
Right.
Because like you're not getting those same associations you expect with the kind of action you're seeing on the screen. You're not getting that matchup musically that is just the traditional thing that you would do with this kind of action going on.
Did you ever? I was gonna say, do you ever see the trailer? I'm sorry, I just don't want to forget.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Like that movie, like you don't know like what you're getting into. Like I remember watching the trailer and then actually seeing the movie, and I had no idea what I was getting into. And to your point too, the music, like where it breaks, like all of a sudden there's an opera in the middle of this movie. Like what the crap is going on? Like, and then it evolves into so much more other stuff. But I'm sorry.
No. And I'm glad you said that too, because I really think that in movies like that, even though you kind of said that it doesn't match the film or maybe your expectations for what you're seeing.
It's expectations.
It's huge with determining the tone of the film, I think, and how it's kind of whimsical to a degree. It's a little silly at points, but then also very dramatic and very serious at points too, like towards the end when he's holding her, and they're, I don't actually know if there's a song playing there.
Yeah, it's very ethereal. Like it's just like, it's like one instrument playing like, tell her Corbin,
Right.
Like,
And so I think like that's a common thing with scores also is the tone and the big, how it influences tone and setting without being a visual. It's mostly just what you hear and part of that experience and helping you escape, hopefully not ruining that suspended belief. But I think it's funny. We were just talking about it before you came over about how even though the soundtrack isn't the best soundtrack by itself, but when it's, you're just listening to it, but you can't not have Fifth Element without the diva, opera part, because what movie did I say? It's like having Phantom Menace without Duel of the Fates. So you need it.
The reverse is true, right?
Yeah.
Like where it's just like your movie can suck, but that music is like, you can just listen to the soundtrack and it's fine.
Right.
Yeah, if you ever want to see a movie that has a bunch of really good ideas and really good pieces, but it's kind of executed badly, in my opinion, Crawl is a great watch.
Crawl?
I love Crawl. It's an 80s film. Like there's so much wrong with it, but I'm like, but this idea is great, and that idea is great, and that idea is great. It's just that the spaces in between, I'm sort of like, yeah, okay, well, this will end in a couple minutes and then we'll get to another good idea.
That's exactly why I love Pirates of the Caribbean 3. It really is. Like, it's overall horrible movie, but I love so many
The first one's
individual
pretty
things
solid.
about it. Oh my God, yeah.
She said
Yeah.
the third one.
I
though,
did.
Oh, the third one.
yeah.
Specifically at World's End.
I have a story about that one, but that's for another time.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just nice to find when you find one of those movies that fits like all the things that we look for. Again,
Mhm.
movie as that perfect container.
Right.
We spend an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't remember how long the movie
Mhm.
is. And you get everything. You get the rides, the fall, the comedy, like even when Ruby Rod comes in, you're not expecting that.
It's true.
Like
It's true.
I just like, what the hell is going on? That's
But
most of the
So
movie.
important,
What-
the tone.
What's funny to me is I think he said he based his performance off of, I think it was Prince, and like there's a couple of people he
Sure,
based it off
sure.
of.
You can see
But I'm
it,
like,
yeah.
that's because those people really exist, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But taken to the nth degree, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's truth is stranger than fiction. So
Fair
just,
enough,
just
yeah.
put it out there.
Yeah.
Just make it into a sort of hybrid, put it
Yeah.
out there, and people are
Mhm.
like, wow, that's really original. No, it's not.
Well,
It is, but
Inspired
it's
by.
yeah, it's
Right.
heavily
Mhm.
inspired by reality.
and
as
isn't
everything is.
aren't all stories? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
then
You can't
for-
escape reality.
you
No,
can't.
People
you
try
can't.
really hard.
Mhm.
We live in a digital world. Like I'm convinced. Like you know,
Yeah.
even like I always
That'll
joke.
be
Like,
Madonna's sequel to Material Girl.
digital world. Digital world. I mean, like I always talked about, like even if we are brains in a vat somewhere, and these are all just electrical signals, we're still like you still see a sunrise, you still see any of that stuff, and it's still beautiful to your brain. And that's
Sorry for all our blind, listeners out there. No, I'm kidding.
you can still feel the sun because even
Yeah.
that's sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They can
yeah,
still
I'm
feel the
kidding.
sun, right? No one wants to be cold.
Mhm.
Like with me, I'm cold right now because I didn't put pants on. But
It's
you don't know
your
that.
house, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
You
he's
got a
wearing
thermostat.
shorts,
I'm
don't
wearing
worry.
shorts because I thought my
Yeah.
pants would be dry in time.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, he's not wearing pants. It's a really bad view from over here.
yes,
you
it
know?
is. Well, or a good view depending on how you look at it.
Oh, that
It's a really bad view from over here.
That's something I wanted to explore earlier. It was
the bad view.
No. Define good when it comes to absorbing a story, because I was thinking
Mm.
about an example of a blind person. That do they know if the sun is shining down on them versus like a
Mhm.
fire? They just feel warmth and they're
Oh,
just comforted by it. Doesn't matter actually what the source is.
Sure,
Mhm.
sure.
Take with that what you
Yeah, how do you
will.
perceive things? I remember I did something really, really dumb once when I was a teenager. Like,
Just
yeah,
once.
yeah, like I was gonna say, like, who hasn't done something stupid when they're a teenager?
This is one. Yeah.
But yeah, the things we do. I was lying on a hill, there looking up, and I thought, like, I closed my eyes. I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to stare at the sun, but with my eyes closed.
I mean, sure.
And I did that for minutes.
Oh.
And when I opened my eyes for about 15 minutes, I could only see in black and white.
Whoa.
And that really worried me. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
You
crap,
made
this is
yourself
a bad
colorblind.
idea. I guess I
Uh-huh.
just wore out the rods and cones and everything.
Sure.
But like, yeah, for 15 minutes, I saw the world completely differently.
Wow.
Oh, sure.
And it was heavily affected by the worry that did I just
Sure.
permanently screw up my eyes?
Yeah.
Right.
And I can't believe, like, I thought it would be okay to stare at the sun even with my eyes
eyes
shut.
closed,
It's
yeah.
like, but these are supposed to help. These eyelid
I
things
know.
are supposed to
Yeah,
help me.
right. They're made of titanium. They're supposed
Yeah.
to block everything.
And I
Maybe
think
in the future in your
Yeah.
sci-fi story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you got to write in. It's just everybody had titanium eyelids so they could
Mhm.
stare at the sun with their eyes closed.
well, it's also said like there's there are photos and things out there that show how certain prey animals see things because they
Mm.
put the right filters on.
Yep.
And
Oh.
tigers look like they're camouflage because
Whoa.
they don't see the orange. It's
Yeah.
all like different
Sure.
shades. It's
Yeah.
like seeing someone in fatigues.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
For us, it's like there it is.
Right.
It's a tiger.
That's why we wear the orange.
Yeah.
That's good for us, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you hear have you seen the digital camo that people wear now on the field?
No.
So it's all like pixelated, but they found that actually works better than the splotches because at a far distance, like it represents more of what the
It
actual
blends the
that's
right
better,
way.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How
I
do
just think it looks like Minecraft,
Yeah. That's right.
It's like,
Everything's
why
just
is he in his
blocks.
Minecraft jumpsuit?
He's gonna build a
He's gonna
little
go game later.
Why has he got an AR-15?
It's all square. It's just like a block, and it's just like this little trigger.
Yeah, the gun it blends in more too. Yeah,
No one saw that. Oh, they
Um,
did. Shit.
yeah.
There's a camera there.
There's a camera there.
Hi.
But as
How
much,
are we? No, sorry. How are we on time? That's all I was
No, I
going
was
to
going to say, as much fun as I've been loving this, I think we got to a good starting point. We're going to do more of these, and we want to wear ourselves out in the first time. So, any last thoughts or anything anybody want to share with us?
Yeah, I guess I just, I love talking about the three pillars of story, world building, character, plot. And that's a kind of a new concept for a lot of readers out there, a lot of viewers. So if that's making you think about anything in particular, like let us know what you'd like to hear about that, or what things we might have touched on that you'd like to hear more about. Yeah. Because from our standpoint, these are the three biggest building blocks that we use for story. And we all, as you can tell, we all have a separate favorite one.
Yeah. It's like the Pokemon. We all chose different starter Pokemon.
Yeah. And, we're going to be touching on that throughout this podcast.
Pokemon?
Because oh God, I hope not.
I'm out of here.
But no, it's got to be either Fifth Element or Pokemon. So
that's what we should do. Fanfic of both. Ray Corbin just gets a bunch of Pokemon and
I don't want to hear the music for that.
It's just like digital.
Wait, you don't like Pokemon music? You know what?
Sounds like Super Mario. But yeah, like these are three big themes throughout story, even in songs. Like they like I said, they create a world, they create a plot, they have a character, characters. Any sort of medium. So
talk to us.
Yeah, whatever you guys think about that or want to hear about that, let us know.
Yeah, well, let's do the research for you. We'll talk about whatever you want. So and comment on our videos. Talk to us anywhere where you can get a hold of us. We want to talk to y'all. So yeah. But thanks for joining us in. I've been Rio.
I'm Kate.
Oscar.
And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.